Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program RP-0. We are starting our episode out with Eva, Evie, out at Harmonia Station, who has volunteered to take on the very difficult task of doing a thruster balance pass on our Mars Ascent Stage. I've not officially chosen the name yet, but there are some absolutely fantastic suggestions in the comments of the last episode focusing on this, so I expect to have picked an official one sometime soon. Basically, we're going to strip down the thrusters and store what we can, although I forgot that service bay was completely full of scientific goodies. Had I known that before we did our landing test run, we may have done something a little bit more substantial. So, for the time being, we're going to use the storage bay here on Chestnut to kind of store our excess thrusters while we decide on new thruster placement for balance and etc. So basically, the way I did this kind of cheaty was to go back to the VAB and load up the original craft file and remove the descent stage, the basket, and kind of remove all the thrusters and then place them on in I don't know, ordered pairs with much better axis assignments and in slightly different locations. I did make some trade-offs as far as thruster count. I did not use more thrusters than what we currently have, although I did kind of split some of these three port thrusters into a couple of the single port thrusters, so that the physical count will be higher, but I guess the number of thruster ports will be the same. But just to make sure I wasn't getting away with anything for free, we did go ahead and EVA off as many of these thrusters as we can and then store them. And I will be removing them from storage to account for, I don't know, the different part settings or anything like that. But in the new revamped Ascent stage, everything is the exact same. The only real, I guess, cheaty thing that I would be getting away with is the runtime on the engine, because a freshly imported craft file will have a fresh engine with 0 runtime on it. But I will still be swapping out the engine upon arrival of the next descent stage. So after many hours of laborious EVA, Evie can now take a quick run past the new Ascent stage and admire all of her handiwork here with all of the freshly placed thrusters in their kind of clippy and very angled and very axis appropriate in dually assigned locations. It does change the look, I think, just because the single port thrusters, there might be a slight mass change, but I'm hoping that we have more than enough delta V on our ascent to compensate for that. So big round of applause for Evie for accomplishing the most difficult Kerbal attachment, non-Kerbal attachment EVA in the history of the space program, and rectifying a fatal design flaw with our hopefully very reusable Mars landing stage. So she will retreat back inside, treat herself to exclusive Game Boy Advance privileges, and open up the cupola and just enjoy the view from inside a pressurized cabin for a change, which I'm very certain she is thankful to be enjoying. Oh, we need to rotate this thing, get those panels in the sun. That I'll have to address that later. But moving on to our next task at hand is Old Me. And next up is our Enceladus mission, the currently named SMSE Saturn Moon Surface Explorer. This is number 2, and it looks like we have a free flyby of Enceladus here in about 4 hours. Oh, that means we need to start queuing up science. So let's. It's really hard to see our periapsis here because we either have or don't have an encounter. We can't We can't honestly tell. This node is probably here to adjust our flyby, because, oh yeah, that would be bad. So let's maybe dip this out just a little. That should get us not on an impact trajectory. 11 meters per second. How does that affect our orbit? Wrong way. Yep, figures. So we need to come in on the opposite side here. Whoa, and it's gone. And it's gone. Golly. So we'll just, there, 30 something, 38. Yep, yep. I mean, it's a tiny little snowball. We should be able to get in nice and low. I just wish we had something a little more solid to work with. But let's go ahead and open up our fuel tanks and get ourselves spun into position. We'll dial in this maneuver node and then see what we can't work out. And being that it's a tiny little snowball, it's going to take quite a bit to arrest as far as delta V wise, but very little to land. So we may be exploring the option of ditching our transfer stage at some point. I'm wondering if it's worth it to do this all in thrusters. 1,300 meters per second in the tank. Of course, we are going to be altering that. But maybe we will just go ahead and use the AJ-10. It should be ullaged by now, so let's just give that a quick bump. And shutting down. We'll just go ahead and hold the radial here while we correct this on RCS. Looks like our inclination could use a little touch-up, but let's get in good and low. I do plan on firing the engines at our periapsis just to kind of help this process along. Less time spent playing with this spacecraft, we can be making money. Well, I guess if we get some solid radio ins here, we can make some pretty decent cash on this. 8, 9, 10 grand. Yeah, that looks good. Let's go ahead and lock the fuel tank on that for now. Probably going to have to normalize out this fuel. And then 4 hours, 53 minutes. So we'll dial that in first. 4 hours, 53. Mic clear. Yeah, we're a couple of seconds below that. So let's go ahead and option out our radio in, toggle that. We'll go ahead and set this down for 52 minutes. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and get all this set up. In some vain attempt to be thorough, we're going to just spam our radio in command every couple of minutes while we're making our flyby and try to catch one on the way in and on the way out, just in case we actually hit a different biome this time. All right. That should be that, and now I guess we can clear this node and just wait for our approach and hope that everything goes real well. Let's do this from map view. Oh good, we actually have a lock here now. So what happens if we spend a couple, how much is it going to take to capture? Yeah, way out of budget. Something like, yeah, 5.3 kilometers per second. Really, we don't start making a huge difference until you get above 5. So we need a gravity assist for about 5 kilometers per second. Yeah, delete on close. What is 4 kilometers per second bias? All the way down here. That's not bad. I mean, if we could get our orbit to within Titan in a run or two, that would be kind of cool. We could start, reaping some benefits or something. Wow, do that. We're still looking at many meters per second. This is our current track, I guess. Oh, well, did I bump that the wrong way? Yeah, 16.3 meters per second. That's accelerating. That should be neutral. Yeah, so We spend 100 meters per second, we can cut this in half. That's what we're looking to do. All right, so back to the timey-warpiness. We'll just watch for our approach. Whoa, that happened very fast. 3 minutes to node. Let's go ahead and open up this tank while we're waiting for our radio ins to start happening. Should be all prograde. Maybe we'll give it a good 300 meters per second. Yeah, we've not entered the SOI yet. We do need to be vigilant in case we run into a snowbank. Always makes me so nervous. We're like 2 minutes out, and we're not technically in the SOI. Is that a thing? No, we are... Whoa, why are we way out here? What the hell happened? Ah, KSP, you're killing me, man. 3 minutes, we're going to be well past it, so let's just go ahead and light this up now, since... This can't be right. 170 million... I guess we don't technically have... Oh no, or we haven't entered the SOI yet. I'm right on that, because that's the intersection line. So man, that is the SOI. This is tiny, tiny. Okay, well, I just threw off all our science radio ins. Ooh, buddy. That seems more like a couple million. Alright. Teeny tiny snowball is teeny tiny. And we have just crossed SOI, and here's our first batch of radio ins. Flight computer, you need you out of the way. Biological sample, we will reset. Looks like we're not seeing anything new just yet, if at all. We are over the flatlands. Fire up the engine. There's our official camera change. Let's lock this into retrograde for right now. 8.4 kilometers. Okay, good. I was worried we were going to come in too low. 4 seconds to our next radio in. Pulling very, very fast. Yep. Still over the flatlands, so I don't know if we're going to get any usable data this run. Ooh, but we're going to kick up some dust, that's for sure. And we're on our way back up. We are clear. Whoa. Maybe we'll change biomes on our way back out. That was a very... Oh, that is an interesting feature. I think we found our targeted landing zone. Yeah, we'll shut the engine down. Yeah, still over flatlands. Nothing new to report. We can go ahead and get rid of flight computer. I just want to take a look at our resultant telemetry. Oh, nice. That significant change there. I think that'll be pretty good for us in the long run. I'm going to go ahead and lock the tanks. And reset all of these things. There's our next camera change. I think we have one more radio in. Maybe not, or they got blended together. No, we do. We are about a second out from that. Equatorial bands. Bummer. We already got this one too. Womp womp. Yeah, I came here looking for some science pay dirt. Little disappointed, but we still made a successful gravity burn assist, so I think we're in pretty good shape. We can start trying to set our next node for our very next flyby. Well, because time isn't really a factor on this mission anymore. It doesn't matter how many orbits ahead we plotted, but it turns out we can get one real cheap if we just adjust when the node happens. So that's a pleasant surprise. And in about a year, 324 days for 5 meters per second, we can get a pretty good one. So let's go ahead and set up our alarm. Add from a new node, 324 days, add alarm. Brilliant. This mission will take a while, but it's shaping up pretty well, so what more could we ask for, really? A few brief moments to enjoy the view. I'll get some screenshots for later, and we will switch back over to Harmonia Station, as it has been almost, I don't know, 10-ish days or so, but we don't have signal, so we will warp around until we have a direct connection with Earth, and then start to radio in data, and then discover that we have more things that we can stuff into the laboratory. We actually probably have a couple of years worth of work of data, I don't know, accounted for here, and so we just need to we need to run the lab almost all the way down. We have one or two things here that account for 500 data apiece, which is, you know, we have a maximum in this lab of 750, so it's going to take many cycles through of transmitting data back home before we can make enough room for some of these larger I don't know, sciencey bits to go ahead and get them researching. But at we're making 46,000 Kerbucks per, I don't know, full transmission, so that's a pretty easy way to generate some very decent money, especially at the rate of like what, 56 a day. So really every 8 or 9 days or so we can pull a radio in, generate money. It's not a bad income stream. But anyway, for our next thing, here's Old B. And finally on our list today is our Callisto Lander. This is kind of a failed mission at this point because the contract is already expired, but we're on a pretty good course to make our next flyby encounter with 434 meters per second left in the tanks. Let's get this angled in, then we're going to switch back to map view so that we can dial in our approach and observe our, the resultant trajectory. And we'll try to make this a good flyby. I don't think we're going to go for orbital insertion. We don't have, I mean, if it's in the budget, we'll do it, but I would be absolutely shocked if it were in the budget. Let's see what we're looking at here. This is a 4,300 kilometer, 43 kilometer. And insertion will take 1,500 meters per second. So let's loosen this up and see what just tapping the brakes is going to give us. Ooh, I mean, honestly, something like this would be, oh, that's shooting for, yeah, that we don't have the budget for. So let's just loosen that up a little bit and see what we're getting. If we just tap the brakes a little bit, we're actually coming out pretty strong. We can make a couple more tangential flybys to kind of push this around to more or less where we would like it to be. So I think, yeah, we'll give the brakes a quick tap. We'll try to dial in this flyby a little better than what we have now. I think we already, fuel is not normalized, but we're gonna ride with it. Differing burn times. Now this does have about 2.4 kilometers per second itself, so we're still in pretty good shape to make this landing happen, even though we're not going to get paid for it. We can totally make up that difference by getting paid in science, however. So let's switch out here to the map view, and we'll just monitor our progress that way. Minute 5. Just kind of holding the H key, waiting for something on here to change. Yes, delete. Thank you. Let's go ahead and light the engine. I did not mean to hit shutdown there, but I guess, yeah, we'll give that another tap. Unlimited ignitions. That's the selling point. Shutting down. And we'll go ahead and kill that node. That's 500 meters per second. That's out of budget. Way, way, way out of budget. Let's dial this in, get ourselves good and close. 36 some odd kilometers. That seems like it'll work. 39. I mean, that's probably way too high, but that is a nice bend on that arc. That should be... Yeah. That result is excellent. That's what I want to see. So... maybe we don't actually need to tap the brakes, but every little bit will help, so we'll just give that a little bump just to see what happens. Alright, and so that comes up in about 5 days. So we can kind of push through this a little bit until we're a lot closer. Good news is that means we'll have more radio ins from our labs to take care of when we come back from doing this, and that will, of course, generate more money. $2 days, that seems... Well, now I guess the rate at which time is ticking away, that makes some kind of sense. We're going to get within a few hours, and then queue up the science. It seems like way less than 14 hours, but I guess that whole trip around Enceladus really messed with me and my perception of distance and time. So we'll just let ourselves get in a little bit closer within just a couple of hours, trying to barely compensate for our transmission delay, and start to set up some of our radio ins. Hopefully these will turn out better than our last run, but again, I want to try to spam these as much as possible, just in case we accidentally fly over several different biomes instead of just one, like pretty much every other time. But anyway, here is old me. Alright, hopefully that will be enough radio ins. Maybe we can gather some data on this whole thing. I'm going to go ahead and lock these tanks, keep this from screwing with us, although should have done that a while ago. 42 kilometers, that's... Alright, well within the safety margin, I'm sure. Let's just go ahead and get this flyby underway. Bonk. There's our SOI change. 30 minutes till our next radio in. Let's scope out the view. Over the cratered Midlands. Looks like we've been here before, so we'll just clear all of these. Of course we have. I think we'll radio one of these in because I thought we had a contract for no comms. Great. Why do we have no comms? Plenty of battery, just no line of sight, I guess. Where is Earth in relation to us? We have to be... Yeah, we probably won't get comms. Man, I guess Earth's over there somewhere until we are past our periapsis, so anything we need to keep, we need to just relocate and store before the next radio in. That's going to get, well, interesting. Alright, now we're pretty much just going to wait until our periapsis, so 2 hours, 27 minutes, and then we'll turn into retrograde and fire that engine. Still no comms, so reset. Biological sample was the one that I'd cleared, so no problems there. Just a couple minutes later, repeat the process. I can't believe we're only going to get 80 science if we return the biological sample. That seems a mite bit light. Really? Uh-oh. Here's a problem. What's our time to periapsis? 58 minutes? Okay, good. We do have 2 radio ins in 58 minutes. I thought we got so thrown off that it really screwed up everything, but we have no connection, so not that it really matters where we're radioing anything back right now. There's our camera change. 7 minutes. 42.5 kilometers, our total flyby. Still over the cratered Midlands, unfortunately. Alright, about a minute out. Whoa, there was a terrain shift. That got real interesting. Let's get facing the retrograde. I think if we dump 50 meters per second or so, it's going to be, we'll still be okay. Let's hold retro. Yeah, we are well in the clear of hitting anything space just above the cratered Midlands. 27 seconds till our next radio in. Let's go ahead and light this up. You know, maybe we'll just burn a little bit more. Shutting down. Oop. Good enough. We'll go back to locked tank status. And here's our radio in. Looks like we've been here before also. Oh, 150 signs for returning. 45 for radio in. That's, I don't know, not great. Oh yeah, we're going to radio something in just in case, because now we have a connection. Nope. What contract did we complete? Science data from space around Saturn. Oh yeah, that was last time. And yet another failed radio in. Another hour until our next one. I don't know if we'll be over another biome or not, but we have started ascending again, and we are on our way out the door. So, cratered Midlands. Oh, we touched very briefly on the cratered Highlands, and there's some lowlands. Maybe if we're lucky. Old craters. That's something I haven't seen before. Interesting. Hopefully we can spend some time in orbit once that ever becomes a thing. Why are we throttling back time warp? What? We still got like another hour. I guess something happened. Something happened somewhere. We'll stay in the Highlands. Maybe? Nope. I can only hope. Nothing doing. Thank you, flight computer. And let's go ahead and finish leaving the SOI before we start to plot out our next encounter. Unfortunately, this one will not come as easy as our last encounter plot. As you can see, just cycling through the orbits, and we're just way out of whack, especially when we're getting so narrow on our delta V margins. Yeah, this one's in 1100 days, which, yeah, we're not going to wait that long to get another one, so we'll just plot a brief touch-up, and then try to get something a little bit closer to where we, I don't know, actually are in time. I would really like to try to get this landing done before the year 2000. That would be, I don't know, some lofty goal. I should have tried to been getting it done by 1996 when the contract was available to us, but, you know, beggars, choosers, something like that. So we do actually find a pretty good node we make a correction in 3 days, and then just a few weeks after that, we go ahead and make a burn to 144 days. So not a few weeks, half a year, close to, something like that. But it's a lot better than 1100 days. So we'll just go ahead and warp on into this 37 meter per second correction, lighting up that AJ10. And we have about 200 meters per second left in our primary tank before we get down to running on fumes or on the lander stage itself. But the good news is next node plotted for 170 days is only another 40 meters per second, and then we'll be I don't know, within a flyby or two of actually making this orbital insertion a thing, although at some point we're probably just going to have to burn for broke and decide to do it because we are still way out of budget on this thing. But anyway, we'll add our alarm, get that set up, and that's going to do it for this episode, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it, and I will see all of you in the next one. So until then, see you later.